Hello, here we are with a new topic using the add and get methods of the array list object. We're going to do this with Minecraft materials. This is a single file assignment, so we'll walk through what's going on here. Okay, you've got a class, a single file class called ArrayLists add and get Minecraft materials. That's the declaration for the class right there. Okay, you've got some comments at the top that explain what to do for the assignment and a little bit about comparing methods with some of the other what are considered collection or list objects in Java and in C# and the different types of methods that they use. We're going to use add and get, which are both methods that belong to the ArrayList object in Java, but there are other methods, namely push and pop, which are common to other objects, even in Java and in C#. So we're going to go ahead and start with this. We're going to stick with the array list because we've used that in class and we're kind of familiar with that, and it uses add and get, which are similar alternative types of methods to push and pop. So here we go. All right, you've got a series of global properties at the top they're all strings, and each one represents a material to build with in Minecraft, and they're all named by the particular materials, and then they have a string value describing that type of what that material is and describing it. So we're working with these. There's 10 of them up here. Okay, we're creating a new array list right here. It's been parameterized to take nothing but strings, so we know that when we add things to this, we're going to get strings out of it pretty easily. All right, and then you've got a main method, and that main method is right here, and it only has one line of code in it that it calls currently, and that is going to be to make a water cannon in Minecraft. So this is just a file that's going to accumulate the materials that would be used to make what we would call a water cannon in this case. Okay, there's a few other things you'll need to do here in the main method that you'll be adding to this. Down below this, we have several methods, 3 of them. One, make water cannon on crafting table, and that is just going to output the materials necessary, the names and descriptions of the materials necessary to make the water cannon. And it's this is a pretty simple assignment, but it's going to allow you to see how to use the add and the get methods of array lists, and maybe keep them in mind for when you might encounter push and pop methods for another type of object. Anyhow, all right, so we've got 10 properties up here, 10 global materials to build with. This little set of directions above this in the comments explains the materials needed to make the water cannon. There's 5 of them. Okay, and we're going to need to have a metal, a wood, a rock, an insulating material, and an electrical conductor, okay, for running the cannon. So down here we've got another method called add to array list, and we've got a final method here, or a last method, that is called get from array list. Now both these methods just simply use the add and the get methods of array list. They sort of just enclose these 2 methods so that you can call them and use them and kind of get a feel for how this works as well. But you could do this assignment just by using the name of the array list that we initialize up here, water cannon stuff. It's a global variable. It's above the main method, just inside the class, so it's global. And you could use that and just simply use this line of code if you wanted to, as opposed to calling this whole method. But I went ahead and set these up so you could see them and have them conveniently tucked away in something that you could use. But I wanted to display the method itself so that you could see it and have an example of it in the class as you're working with this assignment. So this .add method will add an item to the array. It adds it to the end of the array. So if you add 5 items, it's going to start out adding element 0. It always starts with 0. Element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4. So if we get up to material number 5, we're actually going to be on element 4 here in the water cannon stuff array list, because number 1 will start with 0. Okay, add, and then you're going to have to include an item here to add. We will be adding these string variable names because we have declared that this array list water cannon stuff is a string specific array list. It will take nothing but string objects. Okay, so what I want you to do, well, let's explain this last method, get from array list. This is going to return an item from the array list. And these two methods both take an item that is going to be a string. You send a string variable to this add to array list method, and it uses the .add method to add that to the water cannon stuff array list. And to get one, you have to call the get from array list method and send it an integer or an int, a primitive int that will indicate which element number you want to get out of using the get method for the array list object. Okay, so the first method takes a string, the second method takes a number. Okay, and that's how that works. When you use .add, it takes whatever thing you want to put into the array list. In our case, we're using a string specific array list called water cannon stuff, and this has to be a string that it receives as a parameter in the .add method. In this case, when we're getting the item out of the water cannon stuff array list, it's always going to be a number. When you use the get method, it's always going to be the number of the element that you specifically want to get out of the array list. So as we do this, I want you to click after the initial comment here in the make water cannon crafting table. We're going to leave this alone. This really is, I think, all you're going to need in the main method, this call of this one line, but we're going to work on this make water cannon on crafting table method and get this up to speed so that we can make something display using this little file. Okay, so in here, in between the comment and the system.out, because we want to output the name and the information about each material. Okay, so for the first material, let's just take the first one listed here that we need. We need some sort of material to make metal with. That's the first material we need to make this water cannon. Out of this list of things, I think you might have a choice. Okay, I'm not sure, there's a lot of different kinds of metal, but the only one that looks to me like it would be metal is iron ore. Okay, a material used in smelting a hard metal. All right, so we're going to use that. And we're going to say right here, add to array list. And this is going to be iron ore. We'll go to the end of this and put a semicolon. Okay, so there you go. Add to array list iron ore. Now that puts this item, these are single standalone strings. String properties. Okay, we're going to take this iron ore string property and put it into the water cannon stuff array list. That's what this method down here is going to do when we add. When we call it, it's going to use the add method to add an element to the water cannon stuff array list. So we're going to use add to array list iron ore, and that uses the add method. Okay, so that's going to That gets us one element inside that list. All right, so now we're going to say right here, material 1, and in here I want you to call the correct item here, okay? Call the correct method to get the item from the array list. So let's just copy this. Let's put it right. Let's just completely replace these quotes. You won't be able to keep the quotes, or it'll think this is supposed to be a string, which it is not. Okay. Now this is giving me an error when I paste this method in here and just put a set of empty parentheses behind it, because that method is supposed to take a parameter. It won't be satisfied. It's going to give an error unless that method takes the correct parameter. In this case, we want an element number from the water cannon stuff array list. There's only, at this point, only one element in there, so this is going to have to be 0, item or element number 0, okay? And that'll grab that and output it to the console. Okay, it's going to output iron ore. It's going to give you this. Iron ore, a material to use in smelting a hard metal. And let's just see what that, let's make sure that's what it does. We save it and run it. And we should get that. Right there, okay. Now we got the first one. Now they all output, they're all set up to output from this make water cannon on crafting table method, but they don't tell you what specific type of material. They're just saying that you need to use the correct method call to output the material. Okay, so I'm expecting you guys to execute, to write in the correct call here, and to add all the proper materials that you need to make the water cannon. Okay, now so you know you need 5 materials. They're listed up here. You know you're going to need a metal, a wood, a rock, an insulating material, and an electrical conductor. So hopefully you've done some work in Minecraft with electricity before, the conduction of electricity, and you kind of know what that is. That just might be it right there. So I'll let you work with that. I think you probably are familiar with that. And let's do one more real quickly so that you get a good start on this and can show me your screenshot of this when we're ready. Okay, so material 2, we're going to need to call a we're going to have to add a second material here because it takes 5 to make this water cannon. Add to array list. Let's make sure we spell it right. Okay, now again it's got an error because that needs to have a string sent to it, a string variable. And we could type in a string literal and put some text between quotes in here and send it, but we have these ready set variables here, and we're just going to use them. Let's get the second one. So you need a metal, now you need a wood. There's a couple of different woods. You can pick what you want. I kind of like oak wood, and I'm going to use that. Okay, so I'm going to send oak wood to be added to the water cannon stuff array list, and it'll come in right here. That's the string oak wood that's going to come in right there, and it is going to add. We give it a variable name inside, just for the local use inside of the method. It's called item. This is variableized, so any string that's sent to it will be called item and will be added to the water cannon stuff array list. Now in this case, it knows that we sent oak. We're sending oak wood to it, and we're sending it right here, and it's just temporarily called item just for the use inside of this method. Okay, but it's really going to be oak wood, and that'll be global because the water cannon stuff array list is global, and all these elements inside of it as we add them will be global because of this declaration right here. Okay, this declaration right here. Okay, all right, so we got that. Now we're going to output the correct, we're going to use the correct method to do the output, and we're going to say get from array list, and this is going to be, of course, item number 1. So it's the second element, but its element number, or its index number, is 1. Okay, so that'll output we're going to get outputted here, displayed iron ore and oak wood. So let's see if we can get that done. All right. And there we go. Iron ore and oak wood. So I need the other materials here to see this. Okay. I don't mind if you want to mix up the order that you output them from. Just make sure that you're calling them right. Okay. When you send one, make sure you output, the one you think you are here, and it'll be fine. Okay. All right. That's that. Thank you.